Hey folks, how are we doing? It's Mr. Carter here, ready to do Homelink 1.4. Go ahead and put your name on this if you haven't yet already, and let's begin. Okay, so we are going to be doing some work with this table here, and the table below shows the attendance for various 2013-2014 professional sports teams. So we need to figure out the answer to these problems based on these numbers. So number one is asking us which sport had the greater attendance. So we have hockey figures here, and we have baseball figures here. Well, if I'm taking a quick glance at that, I'm noticing that all the hockey figures have answers in the hundred thousands, and the baseball figures have numbers in the millions. So the sport that had the greater attendance was baseball, just by looking at and comparing the numbers. Round the attendance at the hockey games. So for this one, we're only looking at the hockey numbers. So we're looking at this row here. Now I'm going to do the first two cities for you. I'm going to do Chicago and New York, and I'll have you do the rest. So for Chicago, the attendance was 927,545. Again, that's for hockey. And they want us to round that to the nearest 100,000 and then to the nearest 10,000. So if I'm going to round to the nearest 100,000, and I'll use a different color here. So I'm going to use what I call the stop sign method, where I'm going to put my stop sign under the 100,000s place, and then I'm going to look at the next number, which is my boss. And again, 5 and above, you want to shove that digit up to the next place. So, but since this is a 2, we're going to keep our 9 the same. So we're going to put it 9. Then everything else after the stop sign becomes 0. So that 2 becomes a 0, 7 becomes a 0, put your comma, and the 5, and the 4, and the 5 all becomes zeros. So the answer, when we're rounding to the nearest 100,000, is 900,000. Now if we round that same number to the nearest 10,000, so this time we're going to be putting our stop sign in the 10,000s place, which is our 2. Now we're going to rewrite all the numbers up to the stop sign, so we're going to go rewrite the 9, then we're going to stop here at the 2, and we're going to see what number here is our boss, and the boss again tells us what to do. If it's 5 and above, we give it a shove, meaning we take that digit to the next digit higher. So in this case, the boss is the 7, which will tell the 2 to go up a digit. So we're going to make that 2 a 3. Then everything after the stop sign becomes zeros. So the 7 becomes a 0, put your comma, 5 becomes a 0, 4 and the 5 also becomes a 0. So that means our answer when we're rounding that number to the nearest 10,000 is 930,000. Okay, now let's look at New York. So New York had an attendance of 738,246 for hockey up here. So now that we're rounding to the nearest 100,000 again, you want to put your stop sign under the 100,000 and then ask yourself, okay, what are we going to do? What's the boss telling us to do? Well, the boss is a 3, which means that we're going to keep that 7 the same. We're not going to change it. And everything after the stop sign becomes 0. So that 3 becomes a 0, 8 becomes a 0, and then the 2, 4, and the 6 all become zeros. So our answer, when we round that number to the nearest 100,000, is 700,000. Okay. Now we're rounding that same number, 738,246, to the nearest 10,000. This time our stop sign goes under the 3. So we're going to rewrite the 7, and then we're going to stop and look at our boss. The boss is an 8, which means it's above 5. So 5 and above gives it a shove. We're going to shove that 3 and make it a 4. Then everything after the stop sign becomes a 0. So that 8 becomes a 0, 2 becomes a 0, the 4 and the 6 all become zeros. So our answer is 740,000. Alright, so go ahead and do the same types of things with Philadelphia, Boston, and Washington, and all your numbers are up here. And again, don't forget we're doing the hockey numbers. Okay, so now for number 3, they're asking us to round the attendance for each baseball team to the nearest million. So now we're talking baseball, and they want us to round to the nearest million. So again, I'm going to do Chicago and New York for you, and I'll have you do the rest of them. So Chicago, for baseball, has an attendance of 2,882,756. So if we're rounding that to the nearest million, we underline, the digit in the millions place, which is a 2. This is our boss, and the boss is an 8, which is above 5, which means we're going to give this digit a shove up to the next digit, which is a 3. And again, all the numbers after our stop sign become 0. So that 8 becomes a 0, that 8 becomes a 0, the 2 becomes a 0, and 7, 5, and 6 all become 0. So our answer is 3 million. 3, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Same thing for New York. So the attendance for New York's baseball stadium was 3,542,406. So we're going to put our stop sign under our 3. This is our boss. 5 and above, give it a shove. So it is a 5, which means we do need to give this a shove up to 4. And then all the digits after our stop sign becomes zeros. So that would make it 4 million. Okay. Now it's asking you to list the cities in order from greatest to least hockey attendance. So again, for hockey, we're only looking at this top row here. So the greatest, if I'm looking at, and they're all in the 100,000s, so we're going to compare just the first digits in the 100,000s place. And the one with the greatest digit is Chicago. So that it's a 9, so that means it's the largest number. So that means it's the greatest attendance. So now we're looking for the next greatest. We have a 7 here, an 8 here, 7 and a 7. So that means our 8 is the next greatest. So that's Philadelphia. Okay, so now we're left with New York, Boston, and Chicago. And all of these are in the 700,000s. You've got 700 here, 700 here, 700 here. So that means we need to look at the 10,000s. So we have the 3 here for New York, so 730, 720,000, 740,000. So the next greatest would be this one here, 740,000, which is Washington. And then after that, we're left with New York and Boston. And New York has the next greatest, which is 730. So that's New York. And then last but not least, Boston. Okay. Now it's asking you to write a number sentence comparing the greatest and least baseball attendances. So we've got to look through all the numbers here and find the greatest one and find the least greatest. So we have 2 million, 3 million, 3 million, 3 million, 2 million. So now for the greatest, we're going to have to look at all the 3 millions. So we have 3,500,000 here, 3,500,000 here, 3 million and no 100,000s here, so that takes that one out. So we're going to look at, since we have 3,500,000 for both of these, we need to look at the next digit, which is our 10,000s. We have a 4 here and a 6 here. So that means Philadelphia has the biggest attendance for baseball. So let's write that in. So that's 3,565,718. And the least greatest, so let's look at the one with 2 millions each. Well, we have 2,800,000 here, we have 2,300,000 here, so that's the least greatest. So this would be 2,370,794, and this number is greater than this number. Now you could have flip-flopped it and said 2,370,794 is less than this number, and that would also be correct. Alright, so let's look at our review. Here we're subtracting. I'll do 6 and 7 for you and have you do 8 on your own. So for 6, it's 210 take away 150. So you could do a traditional subtraction where you go place value by place value. Start with the ones place, 0 take away 0, 0. 2 take away, I'm sorry, 1 take away 5 you can't do, you gotta trade. We'll trade one of these. And 10 tens plus the 1 10 we have would be 11 tens. That would be 6, and 1 take away 1 is 0, so that's 60. So that answer is 60. Now you could have got it using that, or you could use the number line since we're dealing with all tens here, and count up from 150 to 210. So you want to and count by 10, so that would be 10, 260, another 10, another 10, another 10, another 10 until we get to 210. And then count your tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and that would be your answer there. So for 6 it was 60. Let's do 7. I'll just do traditional subtraction. 0 take away 0 is 0. 4 take away 8 you can't do, you got to trade. So that would make it 14. 14 take away 8 is also 6. So the answer for this one is also 60. Alright, that's it for now. I hope this was helpful, and have a good day.